with Hubert Grech from the Austrian Ministry for Climate Action and his keynote. So Hubert, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. It's a pleasure for me to tell you something about the Austrian way to low landfill rates, with a special reference to the cement industry. I'd like to start with the legal background in Austria. So, and with two very important regulations in Austria. And the first is the landfill ban. This was the most important provision for the change of the waste management system in Austria. And as you can see with this landfill ban, it is forbidden since the 1st January 2004 to landfill a waste with a TOC content of a maximum of 5%. This was very, very important because with this provision, a pre-treatment obligation was in force. And the second very important regulation in the past was the landfill tax. We have in Austria a landfill tax. And the main point was that it's very important, it's essential that landfilling must become more expensive than recovery. As I said, the first main regulation was the landfill ban. And the second regulation is the landfill tax. We have this landfill tax for the different types of landfills. The most important for the incineration was the landfill tax for the mass waste landfill. And you can see we have a tax of about 30 euros per ton. And beginning next year, this will increase to 34 euros per ton. But we also have a tax for the incineration of waste. This tax is much lower than the landfill tax, so that, let's say, the incineration has an economic chance against the landfill. But we introduced this tax for the incineration because of the waste hierarchy, so that the incineration becomes more expensive in comparison to the recycling. But the important point is that the tax for the landfilling is much higher. On the next page, you can see the effect of these two important regulations in Austria. The effect over the past 30 years, starting in the end of the 80s, we have a landfill rate of more than 60% of the municipal solid waste. And you can see this, this rate decreases over the years. And in the year 2004, oh, I have no sign. Okay, in the year 2004, we have this landfill ban with a very big decrease and some exemptions until 2009. But since the year 2009, we have no landfilling of municipal solid waste anymore. On the other hand, the red part is the thermal treatment. And here we see a big increase starting with the landfill ban. So you can see the waste which was on the landfill went directly to the incineration. Very important also is the upper part of the picture. Here you can see the recycling. And the green part is the recycling of the biogenic waste fraction. And this blue part, the rest of the recycling from the different waste fraction from the separate collection. And what we can see is that although the thermal treatment increases, the recycling has a very constant and very high rate. So this was the effect of these two very important regulations in Austria. Now I want to talk about the legal background regarding the waste incineration in Austria. We have the waste incineration ordinance, and we regulated three parts of the waste incineration. The first part are the provisions for the operation of the waste incineration plants and co-incineration plants. As you can see, here we have the provisions for the operating conditions, the limit values, and so on. And all these provisions, or nearly all these provisions, are implemented from the European Industrial Emissions Directive. So this is the European law, let's say. Then we have another parts in our ordinance. One part are the provisions for the waste fuels with limit values and quality assurance system. And another part, very interesting part, is the end of waste status for the waste fuels, again with limit values and the quality assurance system. And these two parts are Austrian regulations, so there we have no counterpart on the European level. All these provisions lead to a very comprehensive and complete regulation for waste incineration. And that means we have some kind of legal certainty. So everybody knows what he can do and what he must not do. And that's very important for all who are dealing with the waste management system, especially for the authorities, but also for the operators. On the next slides, I will now show you these special regulations in Austria, starting with the waste fuels. We have in our waste incineration ordinance limit values for waste fuels which are incinerated in co-incineration plants. And here you can see the example for the limit values for cement plants. That means if you want to incinerate waste fuels in Austria in a cement plant, you have to fulfill these limit values. We have limit values for the median and for the 80 percentile. And additional to these limit values, we have a very comprehensive quality assurance system. This quality assurance system consists of the input control, the sampling, sample preparation, analysis. You need an assessment certificate and an external monitoring. And the three important parts, the sampling preparation, and the analysis, have to be carried out according to the international standards of the ISO TC 300. So we have a unique appliance of these different provisions because of these international standards. Now some details about the end of waste criteria regulation in Austria. It's possible to reach the end of waste status for waste fuels. And here you can see a little scheme of this procedure. Starting with the waste, we have first some exclusions. That means for hazardous waste and medical waste, it is forbidden to reach the end of waste status. Then you have a classical production of waste fuel. And after this, you have a waste fuel where you can reach the end of waste status when you fulfill some product criteria. These product criteria are above all limit values, but also, again, the provisions for sampling, sample preparation, analysis, etc. If you fulfill this end of waste criteria, you have no longer a waste, but a product. some kind of a conventional fuel. And this fuel you can use as a product. That means you don't need a permit according to the waste management law. And that makes it much easier to use these products in plants outside of the waste management system. We have some instructions for use. That means although you're outside of the waste management law, you have to fulfill some provisions. And the most important provision is that you have to fulfill a limit value for the dust of 20 milligrams per cubic meter. This wasteful products, let's say we have two types of wasteful products. The wasteful products from waste wood, and another type are the wasteful products that are not from waste wood. And here you can see the limit values. Again, we have values for the median and the 80 percentile. And the basis for these limit values is the composition of natural wood. That means when you have a comparable composition to natural wood, it's possible to reach the end of waste status. For all the other wasteful products, we have these limit values, and these limit values are derived from the composition of hard coal. Again, this means if you have a waste fuel comparable to hard coal, then it's possible to reach the end of waste status. In summary, these limit values are very strict. So you can really reach the end of waste status with only with very clean waste fuels. And in fact, nearly 95% of the waste fuels which reach the end of waste status in Austria are biomass waste fractions. The competent authority for these wasteful products is the ministry. That means it's me. So I know everything about the wasteful products in Austria. We have approximately 160 waste fuel products now, and approximately 300,000 tons per year. And as I already said, it's mainly biomass waste, which reached the end of waste status. And these wasteful products, therefore, are incinerated mainly in biomass power plants, because these power plants have no permit according to the waste management law. There were some details about the waste incineration ordinance. Now I will come to the secondary raw materials. And when I start, I first want to have a look on a simple procedure of the cement production process. You can see there are inputs and outputs in the cement production process. And when you look at the first step, here we have the production of the cement clinker. We have as an input the raw material, the primary fuel, the waste fuel, and the secondary raw material. And as I said before, we already have regulated the waste fuel in our waste incineration ordinance. One very important output of the production is the flue gas. And the flue gas is also regulated by this waste incineration ordinance. Then we have the production of the cement in the cement mill. Here again, we have the raw material and the secondary raw material as an input. And for sure, the important output of the cement production process, the cement itself. And here you can see we have some input and output streams where we have no regulations, or let's say where we need a regulation to have a complete system. That means we need a regulation for the secondary raw materials as an input, but also for the cement. And therefore, we have elaborated a guideline for secondary raw materials in Austria. And this guideline regulates the secondary raw materials and the cement. So we have a very complete system of the whole process. What are the provisions for the secondary raw materials we have in our guideline? We have limit values for the secondary raw materials. We have guide values for the cement. That means for the output itself. We have provisions for the analysis of organic and inorganic pollutants, and some provisions for the internal and external monitoring. Here you can see the limit values on the left side, the limit values for the secondary raw materials. That means every secondary raw materials which should be used in the cement production process has to fulfill this limit values. And then on the right side, we have the so-called guide values for the cement. That means the cement has to fulfill these values. The very important point is why we called these values guide values, but not limit values, is that the waste management law cannot regulate the composition of the cement. That's a part of the production law. So we cannot forbid, for example, the selling of cement if one of these guide values cannot be is higher, if one value of the cement is higher or as this limit values. So you can see we nearly have a complete system. We have regulations for the waste fuels and the secondary raw materials as input in the cement clinker. We have a regulation for the flue gas for sure. We have a regulation for the secondary raw material which is used in the mill. And we have also some guide values for the cement. Again, the very big advantage of such a system is that you have a legal certainty. And again, everybody knows what he can do and what he must not do. So the authorities knows that, but also the operators. Now I want to show you some figures about the waste incineration and the use of secondary raw materials in Austria. Here on this picture, you can see the figures for the waste incineration. We have 12 classical waste incineration plants in Austria, which incinerate municipal solid waste. And they have a quantity of 1.5 million tons per year. And then we have 48 other waste incineration plants that are mainly the cone incineration plants, for example, cement plants, and they incinerate 1.6 million tons. So in total, we have 60 plants and they incinerate 4.1 million tons of waste. On the next picture, you can see the development of the incinerated waste in Austria over the last 10 years. And at first sight, you can see it's nearly constant. Even in the COVID crisis, you can see we have a very constant amount of waste incineration. On the second side, you can see a little increase here in the blue line. This is the line for the waste incineration plants. And on the other hand, a little increase in this orange line. This is the line for the co-incineration plants. And the main reason is that we have closed in Austria all caloric power plants fired with hard coal. So we have no co-incineration anymore in these caloric power plants. And that's the main reason why this amount of the co-incinerated waste was decreasing a little bit. and on the other hand, a little increase in this line for the waste incineration in the classical waste incineration plants. Here in this gray line, you can see our products with a little increase over the last 10 years. And as we have heard, we now have about 300,000 tons of products that are incinerated. Now some figures about the cement industry. We have 8 cement plants in Austria. And these 8 cement plants incinerate nearly 570,000 tons per year. The main fraction are the plastics and the solid recovered fuel with nearly 400,000 tons. And then we have the used tires, the waste oil, the solvents, the paper fibers, and other waste fractions, mainly biomass waste fractions. What you can see is that the share in the total energy input is more than 81%. That means more than 81% of the thermal energy that the cement industry needs derives from waste fuels. This is a very high rate in comparison to other countries in Europe. Now some figures about the use of the secondary raw materials in the cement industry. We have 3 lines. In this gray line, you can see the cement production in the Austrian cement industry. And let's say this line is nearly constant with a little increase over the last 40 years, 30 years. The red line is the use of the secondary raw materials in the cement mill. Here we can also see a little increase. But in this blue line, which is the line for the use of the secondary raw materials in the clinker production, we can see a very, very high increase. Still, the use of secondary raw materials in the cement mill is higher than in the use of in the clinker production, but you can see in the near future this will nearly will be the same. And again, another picture for this secondary raw materials use. Now the red line are the whole secondary raw materials. That means the secondary raw material is used in the clinker production and in the cement mill. And here you can see over the last 10 years a real big increase. And this gray line is the recovery rate. That means the raw materials needed for the cement industry. Now we have about 26% of these raw materials needed in the cement industry are coming from secondary raw materials. And here we have also an increase. I think that was it. Yes, that was the end of my presentation. I hope there were some interesting information for you, and thank you for your attention. Thanks.